Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker, and it's indeed a pleasure for me to stand up in support of the Financial Accountability Office. And of course, it's not surprising that we're hearing such frustration from the PCs. It must have been very frustrating for them to go door to door during the by-elections during the summer and basically have nothing to show for 2 years of sitting in this House. And the selling out line, it's an old line. It's an old line because we didn't sell out. We stayed focused on the real priorities of the people of this province. We brought forward ideas on home care, on youth employment, and all of the aggression and frustration that the PCs are expressing motivated us to bring forward this idea of the Financial Accountability Office. And if you've read the legislation, you said no to the budget before you read the budget, but if you read this piece of legislation, you would see that it's progressive and that it would address many of the concerns that you have, but instead of actually putting the people first, putting the interests of the people of this province first, you've put your own interests first and fought for an election that nobody wants right now, unless, of course, we're to lead that the Liberals are they're thinking, oh, maybe it's time to have an election. All this election talk is not good for the people of this province. We need to stay focused on jobs. We need to stay focused on the economy. And the Financial Accountability Office brings back confidence to the people of this province because we have a trust issue. Every one of us has a trust issue. All of us may do really good work in our constituency offices, but what we do here by putting legislation forward, progressive legislation forward, is our key job as legislators. Now, and we are proud. I mean, New Democrats obviously are proud of the work that we were able to accomplish. And that is in many respects the potential of a minority government. If we brought forward the idea of a Financial Accountability Office in a majority government, no one was listening. That's very clear from the last 10 years. That's very clear from the track record of the Liberal government over the last 10 years. And I don't need to rehash all the scandals because they're so prevalent. They are on the minds of every Ontarian. And the PCs will say to the people of this province, it's too late. It's too late to build trust. Well, that's not how we feel as New Democrats. We actually feel that it's never too late to rebuild trust. We feel that it's never too late to right a wrong, and that's what the Financial Accountability Office has the potential of doing. And so it is surprising, it really is surprising for me to hear that the PC party is actually going to vote against enhancing their rights to access to information. And it's incredible. I mean, you can have access to information, and of course you have seen how hard it is to get information from the Liberal government, and yet the Financial Accountability Office would give you greater power, not just power for yourselves, but power for the people that you serve, so that you have the information to influence and to impact public policy and legislation. Now, of late, much has been made about MPP's right to documentation of the business of the government. I mean, it's been a long, hard fight. We hear it often from the PCs. The work being done over the last year at the Standing Committee on Justice, for instance, and at the Standing Committee on Estimates to fully understand the cost of the gas plants in Mississauga and Oakville are important and necessary, but have also served as a study on the rights of this legislature. And I just want to share a story with you. I had the opportunity to sit at Estimates yesterday and ask the Finance Minister some specific questions on policy, on legislation, on their ideas around energy, on infrastructure, for instance. And at one point, the Minister of Finance cautioned the committee members, both the PCs and the NDP, and said, you have to be careful about the questions that you're asking, because, that information, you've never had this information before. It was, in many respects, a very patronizing comment. That, but then he went on to say that this is a shared responsibility. Our economy and the state of our finances of the province is a shared responsibility. It's only a shared responsibility when you have the information in front of you. Then it is truly a shared responsibility. And all of us bear the brunt of that responsibility in this House. And all of us have had difficulty accessing key information on gas plants, on energy, on infrastructure, for instance. Look how long it took to get the real story about the Orange Air Ambulance scandal. Meanwhile, people's lives were impacted in a very negative way. And the reason I bring up the responsibility of government is it's to ensure that Ontarians have transparency and have true accountability, and that the government and all future governments, and that's a real key piece. I was asked this question on Monday. This idea, it's going to impact you too. Yes. Yes, it is, and that is good. It will hold all future governments accountable. And there are so many examples of when actually a financial accountability office could have been used in the last 10 years, in the last 20 years. For instance, if the 407, the selling of the 407 highway, the toll highway, had a full financial analysis, do you think that that deal would have gone through? Because that was a bad deal for the people of this province. It's a bad deal today. And think of the lost profits that we have lost as a province that we could have invested in education, that we could have invested in health care. Billions of dollars. You want to talk about scandals. The Financial Accountability Office brings to this legislature a level of accountability, an independent level of accountability, because the Liberals have brought in other ideas about financial accountability, and we've actually heard, the Premier last week said just because you say something over and over doesn't make it true. Yes, we know that. We know that based on the entire track record, right? When you talk to people in the community, in our own constituencies, all of us recognize, if you're really listening to the people of this province, all of us recognize that there is a serious trust issue. People want to trust the government. They want to see progressive ideas happen in this legislature that they can actually support. And this idea of a coalition, it defies. It's like people have not recognized that this is a minority government. In a minority government, the rules have changed. You just can't play the same old games. You have to come to the table with ideas, which we have done. And actually, you know what? When you can influence a budget the way that we have in the last two budgets, we've showed up to work in this legislature and we have put people first and we have got real results. And I understand the frustration from the official opposition that, they haven't been able to get results, because getting an election is not a result. It is not something that people value. People out there right now just want us to build confidence in our economy. They want to get back to work. They want their students to actually not pay exorbitant post-secondary fees. They want their children to access a public education system that is safe and that is healthy and that is inclusive. There is so much work before us as legislators. And today I'm listening to some of the saber rattling from the Liberals. Oh, the oppositions, they don't want to work with us. You know what? Quite honestly, if the NDP comes to work, the work gets done, right? And the PCs have basically sort of written themselves out. They have rendered themselves irrelevant in the development of policy and legislation in this province. They don't want to play. But we are here, and we have ideas, and the ideas that we have come from the people of this province, and that makes for a stronger legislature, that makes for a stronger Queen's Park, and that's what people expect from the people that they elected to work on their behalf. A lot has been said about the costs, for instance, of this the FAO. Very small. It is actually the lowest official office cost in the legislature. So talk about value for money. It's forward-thinking. It's an idea that actually, for instance, it's a good comparable would be, investing in physiotherapy for seniors so that they don't fall, so that they don't end up in the ER, so that they don't end up in a long-term care facility. It's a preventative, early intervention, a measure that we can take to ensure that the money that comes into this place is spent responsibly. Earlier, the Speaker of the House went on to say that this is a mirror of the Auditor General. It is not. The Auditor General looks at things after they've already happened, and it exposes the lies and exposes the incompetence. The Financial Accountability Office actually is forward-thinking. So we would have had an opportunity to look at the contracts on the Mississauga and Oakville gas plants. We would have realized that cancelling those plants had a huge cost. And it would have actually sort of projected even the future cost, because we don't even talk about that anymore, like about the transmission from Napanee, for instance. That is a scandal. It's a scandal that was preventable. And all of us actually sort of knew that at the time, and yet the Liberals went ahead, as we've heard in the gas plant, the Justice Committee, and they went ahead and they cancelled it anyway, without regard for the true cost to the people of this province. We are proud.
The member. Being 10:15, this House stands recessed until 10:30 this morning.